Okay, it appears the live stream is working. Um, is my audio good? Great. Okay, so sounds good. Okay, so I'll try to be a bit louder. Okay, so we have our playoff bracket. Um, and in our playoff bracket, we have our first matchup, which is the play-in matchup between ABL OptiFuzzy and Windows 95. Uh, OptiFuzzy is from University of Cincinnati. Windows 95 is from University of Alberta. So let's get going. Real quick, I am going to show everybody what we're going to do in terms of the scenarios they'll play through. So the scenarios they're going to play through, this was actually developed for our hackathon version this year. We're going to use not the same exact set of scenarios, but some of the ones we developed for that. And so we're going to go through a number of different scenarios, including ones where the asteroids are placed quote unquote randomly. They are the same place every time, and we flip these based on not advantaging the teams, like I mentioned earlier. We also have some interesting ones where we have walls closing in. We have walls coming from either side. We have offset walls closing in on the teams, all these different things to put them in tough situations. We also have a bunch of corridor situations where the asteroids are essentially moving, and the ships either need to move or carve out a path through the corridor. So those are pretty interesting to see what the teams do. Then we also have some much bigger scenarios with a lot more asteroids, including a random field, a big field of randomly placed asteroids, and then of course everybody's favorites, some rings. So we have a couple with rings closing inside. Rings closing around each of the ships, and then one where they're both inside the same ring. So these are the ones that we have, and what we'll do is we will run through the scenarios for each matchup, and then we'll take a look at their scores, and I have a breakdown of the scores that we'll take a look at afterwards. So without any further ado, let's get going. Our first matchup is going to be our play-in game between OptiFuzzy, seed number 4, and Windows 95, seed number 5. So here we go. So these, wow, some very fast shooting from both teams here. Wow, this is very tricky to see who's even doing better. I mean, that was so fast. Both these teams are shooting so quickly. Now we're into some of the more intense situations, these scenarios where we see that Jamie is just racking up score here. Team OptiFuzzy doing pretty well with avoidance and after taking that first hit. Oh, Jamie, Windows 95 laying some mines. He is not moving. We've seen a lot of that from the University of Alberta teams, but they prioritize shooting and dropping mines when they're going to be hit. Oh, I think OptiFuzzy sort of helped out the Alberta team right there by shooting one of the asteroids. Windows 95 already out of the game. OptiFuzzy taking some really nice advantage of their invincibility frames. So the teams, the ships, after they are hit by a mine or an asteroid or another ship, they do have invincibility for a few seconds. You can see right there their ring around the ship sprite turns red, which indicates that they were hit, but they have invincibility for a few seconds. And so it is a big advantage if you can move somewhere safe during those invincibility frames. One thing to note, though, is if you do shoot or drop a mine, it does take away your invincibility frames. Some fun mine placement there by Windows 95. Team OptiFuzzy getting caught along the edges there, not able. Oh man, both of them getting caught by the closing walls on each side. OptiFuzzy looks like they're not able to avoid getting hit initially, but they are able to take advantage of their invincibility frames to move to at least more safe positions. Although as soon as I said that, they moved right into the wall of asteroids, but that's okay. Again, Windows 95 just continuing to sit there, drop mines if it has to, but then just sucking up all these points by just shooting asteroids, carving out its little nook in the space. And OptiFuzzy doing a lot better in this scenario. It already lost a couple lives, but got hit there with the wrap. We'll have to ask the OptiFuzzy team afterwards how they dealt with the wrap, if they did at all. Wow, some real interesting behaviors. Now we're moving into the corridor situation. So these are one of my favorites because the teams can essentially decide whether they want to prioritize movement and shooting, or if they're good enough at shooting, like what Windows 95 is doing right now, they can carve out essentially a path and just ignore the corridor. Then they also have a few mines. In this one, they have quite a few more mines than they normally do. And the reason for that is we want them to more strategically place mines to sort of carve a path through the corridor if they, or around the corridor rather, if they want. OptiFuzzy getting hit early. It looks like they're struggling a bit to identify where the safe place is. Oh man, they couldn't get out of there, so they already lost all their lives. Windows 95, not able to shoot the handful of asteroids coming towards them more quickly, so dropping a mine. Already lost a couple lives, but still, again, just continuing to shoot and suck up score. It's a common strategy, I would say, is in a lot of the scenarios that we see in the competitions, and this may change in the future, but in a lot of the scenarios, you do have a nice advantage if you prioritize just shooting as much as you can. Oh, we're getting a little bit of FPS drop here by probably some of the heat map operations that OptiFuzzy was doing, but they weren't able to stay in the game for very long, so wound up dying already. Windows 95 carved out its path and able to just sit there and keep shooting up until the time limit is hit. Again, in these scenarios this year, we have unlimited ammo, so we're not restricting the agents as much as we have in the past in terms of ammo, and so they're able to just sit there and shoot as much as possible. OptiFuzzy has some pretty interesting behavior. Oh, look at that! Our first adversarial action. Windows 95 going over to just take the last life by ramming into OptiFuzzy and taking them out of the game. OptiFuzzy is now done with only 28 asteroid hits, and now Windows 95 is already an order of magnitude higher, just continuing to shoot after taking them out. We've seen some pretty interesting adversarial behaviors in the past with both mine placement, movement, and doing things like that, intentionally ramming to take away an opponent's last life. So this corridor is a bit more interesting. Both teams are put in a very tough spot. One much more than the other, of course, but they really have to try to move effectively or shoot effectively, like Windows 95 is doing right now. And we'll see the opposite condition here, where Windows 95 and the next version of this will be put up top. So yeah, Windows 95 up top. And OptiFuzzy, really interesting behavior in terms of how they're deciding to prioritize asteroids, and some interesting behavior with movement. They're able to identify that they need to move to a different location, but it looks like they may be having some issues with their wrap logic. Windows 95 finally moving, getting out of that situation, and putting themselves in a better spot to keep getting score. So this is our first quote-unquote big random scenario, so very dense fields. This is where we tend to see a lot of interesting behaviors when it comes to prioritization and movement. So a lot of the teams, especially in situations like this, they struggle to identify quote unquote safe regions. And you can see, OptiFuzzy is doing a pretty decent job at moving when they need to, but I think they're having just issues with prioritizing the best asteroids to shoot. And you could tell the frame rate drop was probably due to their heat map, because once they were out of the game. Oh, Windows 95 dropping some effective mines and using their invincibility to. I don't know if that was intentional. OptiFuzzy came over and hit Windows 95. They weren't shooting asteroids. Wow. Some really fun behavior here from both teams. One is trying to avoid the ring and get outside of it, and the other is just sitting there blasting mines, getting higher score. Some interesting behavior from Windows 95, placing mines maybe a bit early, and then OptiFuzzy getting caught in the middle, but then moving to get outside of it, but then again not identifying the threatening asteroids right next to it. I think that last one might have been the first time that OptiFuzzy lasted longer than Windows 95. Some really interesting behaviors there. That was interesting. We saw definitely an adversarial action by Windows 95. They went over, and you could tell they went over and took away the final life for the OptiFuzzy team. But there was another instance where the OptiFuzzy team did the same thing. It wasn't clear if that was intentional, or maybe they were just trying to position themselves based on the asteroids, and that's what happened. But wow, that was pretty interesting. So off to a great start with our play-in match. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the results. And one thing that we added this year was I added a different formatting for for visualizing the scoring. So we're going to take a look at that. So we have this mission debrief HTML now being output. And wow, that's pretty clear. Windows 95, their controller name, they named Nexus. But this is OptiFuzzy versus Windows 95. So overall, our winner was Team Windows 95 with a score of 3504 asteroid hits to 762 from OptiFuzzy. We also have some other metrics. So deaths, OptiFuzzy had 50 deaths to Windows 95's 32. We have shots, Nexus, obviously, Windows 95, they are just sitting there shooting the whole time, just gaining score. So pretty good accuracy too. So accuracy, OptiFuzzy actually did a bit better in accuracy, but their shots were much lower. So they were definitely more careful about shooting, and were focused more on moving around to what they perceive to be a safer area in the space. So lower accuracy for Windows 95, but again, they were shooting so much that the score was worth it. The accuracy stability metric, that's basically just the variance. So the variant, not just their average accuracy, but also the variance there. We can also see the cumulative lead throughout the scenario. So Windows 95, we can see in the blue, and then Fuzzy, the other line. And so we can see this differential just through the scenarios. There were some in there that really just started increasing their score quite a bit, drastically, especially once we got to the bigger scenarios. Basically, once we got to the corridors, OptiFuzzy they struggled a little bit in the corridors. And so Windows 95 was able to carve out their little path and just continue to increase their score throughout. We also can see the score differential on those scenarios, so that reiterates what I was just saying. These scenarios in the middle here, these are the corridor ones, and so you can see these big differentials here in score per scenario. These results I will also be putting on the website soon. I've been updating the website quite a bit, so we will now have a new page, and you can go take a look at all of these metrics, including the hits per scenario. You can see the shots, you can see their accuracy, and you can see their deaths. So I will be putting and a whole bunch of other things, so you can see, the hit margins and all these other things. So I will be putting these up on the website as well. But yeah, this is a great start, a good win for Windows 95. So we'll go back to our playoff bracket. Windows 95 is advancing, so they will play Team Hit or Miss. In round one. But first, we're going to switch over to our other two teams, our seeds 2 and 3. We're going to do their matchup first for the first round. So we're going to go back to our competitors, and we're not doing that one. We're going to do this one. So this is now Team TE from the University of Alberta versus Team Mopsalabo from Japan. I'm sure I'm butchering this pronunciation. I'm very sorry. But we are going to see them run through the same scenarios. So let's go ahead and see what happens. So again, this is Team TE versus Team Mopsalabo. I'm just going to call them Team Mop during the scenario runs. Okay, here we go. Okay, so both teams start out in similar positions here. They're not really that advantaged, but they are, one team is much closer to the larger asteroid. These are the very small ones just to start off. Again, we're seeing a lot of shooting from the Alberta team, a good mine placement. The Japanese team doing some great movement there, but getting caught in the corner and not accounting for the wrap of the asteroids, it looks like, so already out of the game. Team TE also already out, but dropped a last mine there to gain more score. This is the same scenario, just flipping the ship positions. We do see the Japanese team effectively moving away, but then again getting caught, losing a life in the wrap. Continuing to shoot, surviving, almost. And then Team TE, similar to Windows 95, we see them shooting and dropping mines, but not really moving a whole lot. It'll be interesting to see. They were talking about having a RAM mode, so we'll see if they actually do that at some point. The wall's closing in. Team TE sacrificing a life to drop a mine early. I don't know if the Japanese team, I don't know if that was intentional, but they just they ran into Team TE, took a life from both teams. I wonder if that was, I don't think that was exactly worth it, but in terms of score, but maybe that was part of a strategy. Team TE, though, just sitting in the middle, just like Windows 95, just shooting and gaining score once the other team has... oh, wow. The Japanese team, Team Mop, just not dealing with the wrap, I think, very well, because they got hit and then went across the wrap and got hit a few more times, probably lost their invincibility frames. Moving into the scissor scenarios, Team Mop taking a hit early. Both teams taking a hit early, but Team Mop getting out of there this time. I'm concerned about their wrapping, though. It always, scares me a little bit when they get over to that edge. But they are doing much better in this scenario. They just took another hit, but they're able to gain more score. They seem to be a bit hesitant, sort of like OptiFuzzy. They're prioritizing moving around and trying to get to a quote-unquote safe area. But then not getting as much score because they're not shooting as much. Team TE again shooting quite a bit, so we'll see who comes out on top. But Team TE is getting a lot of score in these early scenarios. It'll be interesting to see what happens once they get to the corridors. We've seen the both strategies in terms of moving versus shooting in these. Oh wow, they're right up against each other. Wow, running into each other. Oh wow. Team Mop just going over and invading the personal space of Team TE there, taking away both teams' lives very quickly, so nobody was able to gain much score. Very similar in this case, although Team TE just continues to shoot, and Team Mop seems to either move or shoot. They don't seem to want to shoot while they are avoiding. And this is interesting. Both teams, again, sitting right next to each other. Maybe, I think Team TE is helping out Team Mop. Well, I mean, they're both helping each other. They're both, well, they were helping each other, and then Team Mop taking both teams out. You know, maybe that's the strategy there is get close and use the other team to help defend you from the asteroids, but then also eventually take away their lives as well to shorten the game. I don't know. So some very good carving out of a corridor by Team Mop in this situation. Team TE just continuing to shoot as much as possible and gain score. But Team Mop doing much better. Both teams have all of their lives still. We'll see. Is this going to be the case? Are both teams going to get out of this without a single death? It looks like we might. We're almost out of time. Score differential is pretty high still, but both teams able to actually carve out their little their spots in this corridor. Unfortunately, you don't gain score by not having deaths. You know, only as a tiebreaker. So shooting a lot more seems to be the better strategy at the moment, but Team Mop performing well in this vertical corridor situation, much more so than the horizontal. But yeah, some really interesting behaviors there with both teams benefiting from the horizontal ones of being next to each other and sort of probably unintentionally cooperatively carving out these little safety areas. Team Mop not able to survive for this the full duration this time, but still gaining a decent amount of score. This one's interesting. Team TE very much prioritizing carving out that path. Team Mop also doing pretty well to carve out these. I'm impressed. Wow, Team Mop doing much better in this scenario compared to the other two. I wonder if it has to do with like the density of the asteroids and how they're perceiving them to be threatening. This is really interesting. Again, no lives taken in this scenario yet. Team Mop doing very well at moving and shooting. The combination of moving and shooting, I should say. Impressive behaviors there, even if they're not shooting as many asteroids as Team TE score-wise, but you know, that can always be improved. Some more interesting behaviors. Team Mop, Team TE still hasn't lost a life. Team Mop able to effectively do the wrap this time. That was great to see. Team TE just carving out their little spot in the bottom, and now they're happy to sit there and take their pot shots. But Team Mop doing very effective in these two curved corridor scenarios. Oh, finally took a hit there. And we still haven't seen any mines deployed from the other teams. We've seen mines deployed from the Alberta teams, but nobody else is taking advantage of their mines at the moment. Team TE already taking up a lot of their lives with mines. Team Mop got caught by the the asteroids being blown their way by Team TE. I don't know. I don't know that I've seen anybody use mines and their destruction of asteroids, because it does impart momentum on them, as an offensive weapon or tactic yet. I don't know. Maybe that has happened and I just am not aware. But now we're getting to the favorites, the rings. Wow, Team TE just able to gain a whole bunch of score very quickly, and then Team Mop not able to handle the rings that well. Both teams inside that ring. Wow, Team TE able to get a nice mine off to gain a bunch of score, and Team Mop unfortunately not able to handle it. Now we've got a lot more asteroids coming at both teams. Team TE already laying an early mine, so we saw it gain a lot of score very quickly. Team Mop looks like they're stuck. Will they continue to shoot? Oh, they continued to shoot, so they lost their invincibility frames. Oh boy. Oh man, Team TE laying Team TE laying a mine there and just causing absolute chaos. Couldn't even handle it, the chaos that they caused. But gained a lot of score in the meantime doing that. Wow. And Team TE, we also see a sampling of their explanations, which is not the focus today. That'll be uploaded separately, but we can see some of their explanations being output here. Wow. Another good matchup, some really interesting behavior. Team Mop, you could tell that they were switching between trying to prioritize whether to move and avoid being hit by something or to shoot. They weren't able to shoot and move at the same time. So maybe an improvement that could be made, because their movement looked very good. They were able to prioritize asteroids pretty well. Adding in a few more things like taking advantage of invincibility and mines and then being able to shoot at the same time, I could see that being a very lethal competitor. Okay, let's take a look at the actual results. So we have, this was Team TE versus Mop Salabo. Let's take a look at this debrief report. Wow. So, great result from Team TE. Huge score, 3474 versus Mop Salabo's 1054. So pretty big differential. We continue to see, especially in these scenarios where, this year we gave unlimited ammo, and the teams that are prioritizing shooting quite a bit are taking advantage. We also have, let's see, total shots, 3688 versus 1366. Accuracy for Team TE higher than Mop Salabo. And then deaths is actually very similar. Both teams, 40 for TE and 42 for Mop Salabo. So pretty interesting there. Much larger variance in the accuracy per scenario for Mop Salabo versus Team TE, which corresponds again to their accuracy we're seeing here. So let's take a look at the cumulative over the scenario. So, yep. We see here again, especially in these middle scenarios for corridors, not as much as the differential last time. In fact, most of the differential here came from the earlier scenarios in terms of the rate at which they're diverging. And then, of course, the last scenario here, the rings, gaining a lot of score from that mine placement from Team TE. Let's take a look at the per scenario hits. Yeah, that's what we're seeing here, is just a huge differential in the number of hits in that last one. Those mine placements, and then in the corridor as well. Being able to just sit there in the corridor and carve out and then just continue to shoot and gain score, that really made the difference between the scores. But again, really good behavior in terms of movement and prioritization from what we can see from Team Mop. So really interesting. Let's take a look at, not surprising, the shot differential. And then accuracy, we can see, honestly, not that far off except for a handful of scenarios. And in fact, some scenarios where the accuracy was much higher. This second to last, this is one of the ring closing scenarios. Mop Salabo actually had quite a bit higher accuracy. Now, Team TE in those scenarios was focused on placing mines, so it wasn't shooting as much, and those mines may have actually resulted in, errant shots that didn't hit anything, but that's okay. And then deaths. This one was pretty even. A lot of scenarios where they both died, and then we did have that one scenario here where neither team lost a life, so pretty interesting. Wow, some great results here. Again, University of Alberta taking the win. So let's go back to our bracket. Team TE is now advancing. And Team Salabo will be in our third place matchup. So, great. We had our first round one win. Team TE advances to the final. We'll see who they're going to compete against, Hit or Miss or Windows 95. At least it's not Windows ME, right? Okay, let's go back and we'll set up our next competitor situation. So we have Team Hit or Miss versus Windows 95. So without further ado, again, this is our next round one matchup, our first seed, Team Hit or Miss versus Team Windows 95. So let's get going. Both of these teams are exceptional at shooting, prioritizing asteroids and potentially adversarial behaviors. So we will see what happens here. Looks very even early on. What is going to be the differentiator? Is it going to be the rank? Wow, some early mine placement. Gaining score from the mines for Team Hit or Miss, but then wow, the scores are very close. I don't know who's going to wind up doing better here. Lots of heavy shooting from both teams, gaining lots of score. Team Windows 95 at the very end, though. So now we're switching, and they're switching locations, and we'll see if Hit or Miss can maybe eke out a win in this scenario since they're technically in the better spot. I don't know. It looked like Team Windows 95 was able to do a little bit better there. We'll see if Hit or Miss can take advantage. They're still alive. They're still gaining score. Oh, man. This is very close early on. Maybe a slight edge to Windows 95. We'll see. Both getting caught, both dropping mines, both taking a life along with their mines. But again, continuing to shoot, continuing to gain score. Hit or Miss has the advantage right now in this scenario. We'll see if that continues with these other closing wall scenarios. Very interesting. Man, this is a tight race. These are our first of the scissor, quote-unquote, scenarios where we have offset walls, so there are gaps where they can fly through, but neither team cares about that. They are just continuing to shoot and gain score. Hit or Miss with the slight number advantage right now. We'll see if they can continue that. Both teams just firing at will. Oh, taking a life for Hit or Miss, and then taking, this might be another one, not shooting as much. We'll see if they were able to catch up, if Windows 95 was able to catch up. Both teams getting caught there. Oh, I'm surprised Windows 95 didn't drop a mine. They have mines in all these scenarios, but they didn't wind up doing one. Hit or Miss again with the slight advantage score-wise in this scenario. Not much, and Windows 95 only one life left. They still have mines. Will they be able to catch up? I don't know. They're right behind Hit or Miss. Very interesting cases where one of the teams, they might be shooting targets there. Wow. Windows 95, they're able to gain the score advantage and avoid getting a life taken by carving out a path more effectively. So they still have all their lives. Hit or Miss, Hit or Miss took them over and scored. Oh my gosh, this is so close. What a matchup. This is crazy. Wow, what a matchup. So early mine deployment from Windows 95, getting a lot of score pretty early, but already taking 2 lives. So Windows 95 has to be careful. Hit or Miss still has all their lives and not far behind them. Who's going to be able to get out of this one? Oh, wow, Windows 95 took a nice jump there in score. Hit or Miss still not that far behind. They still have a bunch of mines. They still have all 3 lives. We're running out of time, though. What's going to happen? Looks like they're just going to continue to shoot since neither of them are being threatened. Wow. Very close edge to Windows 95 in that one. Windows 95, again, deploying that early mine, just getting a nice jump in score, but Hit or Miss right there with them, even though they haven't deployed one yet. So they're content to just continue to shoot and gain score the old-fashioned way. It looks like Windows 95. Oh wow, Hit or Miss taking them over. They're neck and neck. 15 seconds left. Is anybody going to deploy mines if they don't have to try to gain score on the other? I wonder. We'll have to hear from the teams. I don't know if they take into account the other team, if they try to estimate their score and what they should do. But wow. These teams are so close. So now we have our vertical corridors. Both teams, as we expect, they're carving out their little path, and now they're just continuing to shoot and gain score. So now it's really just a numbers game. It looks like they may or may not even deploy mines because they don't have to. So yeah, maybe something for the teams to consider in the future. Do you deploy mines to just try to gain score and sacrifice lives. I know that one of them, I forget which, they had said that they do try to do that. But maybe because they're gaining score from shooting, you know, maybe it's not prioritizing gaining score by deploying mines in that case, or maybe it's only towards the end or something like that. As I say that, Windows 95 deploying a mine, they're still neck and neck though, and in fact, Hit or Miss is slightly ahead without even using a mine. Hit or Miss, just shooting as much as possible and prioritizing asteroids. I believe it was them that said they prioritize cases where they have to turn as little as possible. I know that Windows 95 does do something similar, but we see a lot more rotation from Windows 95 right now. They're spinning around quite a bit, whereas Hit or Miss is just focusing fire in certain directions, and I didn't see who was ahead there, but we'll see at the end. So these curved corridors, interesting. Both teams doing well to carve out their little path. Neither one of them bothering to move as usual. That's okay. We'll see what happens here if anybody even deploys a mine. It looks like since they don't have to, they're able to just sit here and shoot, and both of them are content to do that and see who wins score-wise rather than deploying mines. Same thing, reverse situations. Is everybody going to get through? Oh, Team Windows 95 not able to carve out their path. They wound up taking a life. They did deploy a mine, so they were able to gain a little bit more score, and they're right there with Hit or Miss, but Hit or Miss still not losing a life, not deploying a mine. They didn't have to, so they didn't. Wow, Hit or Miss, I thought they weren't going to get hit at first. Oh wow, causing absolute chaos here. Both teams just in just in a mess, deploying their mines. They're both probably going to, deploying more mines. They're both already out of the game. I don't know who won that. We'll have to take a look. These are the quote-unquote big random scenarios, so we'll take a look at that in the results, who actually won those. Yeah, just a mess because these teams aren't moving. Yeah, they're just deploying mines because they're going to get hit anyway and trying to suck up score. Doing really well to... Oh, wow. Oh, no. Oh, no. Windows 95 deploying the mine and then shooting all the other asteroids, taking away Hit or Miss's score, shooting the mines before the... shooting the asteroids before the mine detonated. Wow. Just stealing points. Oh, some interesting behavior here. Some early, maybe some premature deployment of mines from Windows 95. Oh man, Hit or Miss causing absolute chaos here with a perfectly placed, perfectly timed mine. Well, it's called Kessler for a reason. For those that aren't familiar, it's named after Kessler syndrome, which was named after, I believe, a German physicist. And it refers to essentially space debris and a runaway condition where space debris causes an exponential increase in more debris because of it colliding with each other. Not exactly what happens in the game, but Hit or Miss, they're doing their best to create a Kessler syndrome situation. Wow, what a matchup there. I have no idea. I suspect... I'm not even going to say. Let's take a look at the results. Let's take a look at the results and see how we did. So we have Hit or Miss versus Nexus. Reminder, that's just the name for the controller for Windows 95. So let's take a look. Wow. Look at this. Barely Hit or Miss edging out Windows 95 by a little over 100 hits, which in the grand scheme of things could be one mine placement. It could have been that mine placement at the end that gave them the lead. In fact, I see something that might indicate that is the case. Shots, Hit or Miss taking more shots than Windows 95. Accuracy, a slight edge to Hit or Miss, not much. I won't say a lot fewer, but noticeably fewer deaths for Hit or Miss. So Nexus, I think part of that Windows 95, I keep conflating them. I think that is partially attributed, and also the accuracy, number of shots, all that. I think that's partially attributed to what we saw, where Windows 95 was rotating more so for prioritization of different targets compared to hit or miss. Then also a little bit higher variance in accuracy from Windows 95 from scenario to scenario. So it wasn't as consistent in its accuracy as hit or miss was. Let's take a look at the cumulative lead. Look at this. Look how close this matchup is. I mean, we have Windows 95 in the lead overall up through scenario 3, after scenario 3, and hit or miss just retaking the lead and then leading all the way up for the rest up until the end. Then they're neck and neck up until the rings, or right at the first ring scenario. Then look at this. Windows 95 was in the lead after the second to last scenario. That final mine placement for hit or miss decided the victory. Wow. What a close, crazy matchup. What back and forth the entire time. You know, both these teams from University of Alberta probably using very similar approaches, but look at the difference that mine placement made in that last scenario. That one little thing, and then that slight accuracy or slight, I'll say, efficiency increase in shot prioritization of different asteroids. Those differences are what led to the win for hit or miss. In this case, more hits than misses. Let's take a look at some of the other metrics. There we go. The hits per scenario. I mean, you can see several where, you know, there's a nice differential for Windows 95, especially early on, like we saw. But then this last one, that mine placement, that put hit or miss over the top. Let's take a look at shots. Pretty similar, nothing that noticeable there except for some of the earlier ones, and then of course some of the rings and corridor ones. Accuracy, like we saw, pretty even. Not much to say here. Interesting though that we had such low accuracy in some of the early ones. And actually, what I think is happening here in these early scenarios, they're so small that both teams are basically competing to win on the handful of asteroids that exist there. So they're actually looking at targets that the other team is also targeting, and because one is much closer than the other, they're able to gain score compared to the other. And we actually see that they're a bit flipped. So in these cases, we do see that advantaged position potentially, but then the other one in the advantaged position. So we see a differential there. These are just the same scenario flipped. And again, in a lot of the other scenarios, very close. Deaths, several scenarios where, especially in those corridors, both teams, as we saw, they were carving out their paths and didn't have many deaths there. So a lot of fun seeing them carve those out and just gain score and not get hit once. Maybe some interesting things there for the teams to consider. Do you deploy mines if you are getting close to the end of the scenario? Maybe you want to try to gain a score bump. Maybe you try to deploy mines and gain more score that way. Wow. Look at the mix in wins. Look how close this is. There was actually a tie. We had a tie on the first curved corridor. We actually had a tie in score. Wow. What a matchup. And I should say, because of submission timelines, that was why Windows 95 was the 5th seed. Because they had submitted something earlier, there were issues with their submitted agent. So the teams were qualified and set for seeding, and then Windows 95 had to make a correction. And so they basically became 5th seed due to that. But still, what a matchup. So hit or miss does advance to the final against Team TE, and Windows 95 does advance to the third place matchup against Mopsalabo. So before we do our final matchup, we're going to go ahead and do the third place matchup between our Japanese team from Osaka, Mopsalabo, versus Windows 95 from University of Alberta. So let's go ahead and set our competitors up. So we have our third place, which is Mopsalabo versus Windows 95. Okay, let's see what happens here. So again, Team Mopsalabo, I'm just going to call them Team Mop versus Windows 95. A lot of aggressive shooting, both teams early on, just like we just saw. Mopsalabo, in this case, not threatened, so it's just going to sit there and shoot. Pretty interesting how its decision logic works there. Oof, Team Mop already getting wiped out by some pretty intense asteroid density. Windows 95, again, just sitting there carving out its safe for the moment. And we'll see if it deploys a mine to gain some more score. Looks like it probably will right here. Gaining quite a bit of score already. Now they're in the reverse situation. Team Mop is in a better position relatively. But Windows 95 able to place a mine, only lose 1 life while doing so and gain a lot more score. Team Mop still has all their life. Oh, as I said that, they took a hit. Team Windows 95 creating quite a bit of problems for everyone, laying those mines, making everything super chaotic. Now we'll see what happens. We've got walls closing in. Team Mop shooting even more than Team Windows 95. A slight lead, but then taking a hit. Team Mop dropping a mine. Wow, dropping a mine, sacrificing themselves to gain a little bit more score, but they're out of lives now, and Team Windows 95 able to just sit here and now collect score with no competition. This is a bad situation for Team Mop in the long term. That's going to be a big differential. Wow, Team Windows 95 taking an early hit, not deploying a mine though, and Team Mop able to effectively move and dodge those dangerous asteroids. Doing some really good prioritization from Team Mop. They're identifying threats very well, and now they have all their lives left. They only have 10 more seconds though. How much more score can they gain? Can they actually gain more score to sort of close the gap? Oh, doesn't look like it. They did win that scenario, but man, that was a tough one for Windows 95 considering how well they've done in a lot of the other scenarios. Team Mop ahead right now. They were able to move and keep shooting a little bit more effectively. We'll see if that holds up though, because right now they're avoiding and not shooting as much. Yeah, Windows 95 able to take the lead. And now we're running out of time, running out of asteroids. Let's see. Team Mop is still lagging a little bit behind, but still very good performance here. Impressive from Team Mop. Getting caught right here, I think that might have been quote-unquote helped by Windows 95. They were shooting some of the asteroids near Team Mop and making life a little bit more difficult. So that is also a strategy we know that teams have talked about employing. I don't know if any of these teams explicitly have tried to quote-unquote make it harder on the opponent by making, shooting asteroids to make a denser field near them. I don't know if that's the case, but they certainly did that there. Oh boy, Team Mop doing its usual tactics of being... Oh, Team Mop taking out Windows 95. Now it's the only one left, but it has a big score differential. We'll see if it's able to actually catch up. It only has about 20 seconds left, and it's not firing as fast as it could, but we'll see if it can actually... gain a lot more score. I don't know. It's not shooting very fast. Can it take advantage? Almost there. Almost. Wow. Team Mop able to actually take out Windows 95 and win this scenario by continuing to gain score. We'll see how big of a differential. Oh, got about 40. So now they're in opposite locations. We'll see. Windows 95, taking a life. Oh, did it again, but then only down to one life from Mop again. Able to move away though, and so it is still again a big deficit at the moment, but it's the only one left alive. So is it able to catch up in this scenario? These wraps worry me because of some of the deaths we've seen earlier. Mop has to be careful here. They still haven't caught up. No, I don't think they were able to catch up. So even though they took out Team Windows 95, that early mine placement, I think, put Windows 95 on top. So we saw Mop have some pretty good behaviors on these vertical corridors in its last matchup, but it seems to be struggling a little bit more now. I'm not sure why. It seems to be doing a little bit better here, yeah. So its movement is very good in terms of identifying threats and moving to a safe location, but it's not taking advantage by shooting very much. It seems to pause its shooting until it thinks it's safe to do so again, whereas Windows 95 doesn't care at all. It's just going to sit there and keep shooting as much as possible, gaining score, which is the name of the game. Same situation, but positions reversed. Mop doing pretty well. Windows 95 doing well. Laying an early mine, so getting a big score boost, losing a life. Team Mop, though, being very cautious, being very safe, very conservative with its shots, and doing pretty well to carve out its little corridor, but lagging behind in terms of score. Yeah, Windows 95 just pulling ahead, just continuing to fire at will, basically, and yeah, it's now the threat density is so low that Windows 95 can basically just spray in any direction. And now we're coming up to the curved corridors. These were some really interesting ones that we saw in our last matchup with Hit or Miss and Team TE, or sorry, Hit or Miss and Windows 95. That was interesting. It looked like Windows 95 was targeting some of the asteroids over by Mop, and Mop, unfortunately, has already lost a couple lives. Didn't use any mines, but able to avoid the mines pretty well. I'm impressed with the movement of Mop. It is one of the more, I would say, it's pretty conservative in its movement, you can tell. It's not going wildly all over the place, but it is moving slightly. It's doing small adjustments to move itself right out of the way, whereas the Alberta teams are taking a different approach where instead of moving to avoid the asteroid, they said, well, what if there just wasn't an asteroid there? So different approaches. It'd be really interesting to see if Mop can improve on this strategy and tactics where they have very effective movement, but maybe they can combine that with just more shooting, more score gaining, maybe some more adversarial things. We've already seen them go and ram the other teams a couple times. I don't know if that's intentional or not. So we're now into Team Mop already taking all of its hits and out of the game. This field is so dense that teams are really put into it. Like, they're put in a terrible spot, and especially once they start laying mines, the density in this map is just, in order to get out of this one alive, you have to be exceptional at prioritizing in the asteroids, prioritizing mine placement, and shooting. All those things combined, and so those scenarios are some of the toughest ones out there. Windows 95, some premature mine placement, but able to effectively destroy it, gain all that score, and then Mop couldn't handle the closing ring, and so Windows 95 placing a mine, moving away, and then taking out Team Mop. So it's just soaking up a bunch of points here in these last remaining scenarios. We only have the one more scenario, these two closing rings. What's going to happen here? Some, again, premature mine placement by Windows 95. Team Mop, though, just not able to handle the rings very well. Windows 95 only has 1 life left, and it couldn't get out of the ring there. Wow. Fun behaviors, seeing the difference in strategies there between the slight movements of Mop to get out of danger versus just the constant shooting from Windows 95. So we're going to take a look at those results. Not completely surprising, we saw some big advantages for Team Windows 95. Again, that's Nexus. So total shots here, 3156 for Windows 95 versus 1285 for Team Mopsalabo. Many more shots, accuracy much higher for Team Windows 95, and a few fewer deaths for Windows 95 versus Mopsalabo. A little bit lower variance as well in terms of accuracy per scenario. Yep, our cumulative lead progression, again, we're seeing Nexus take an early lead, and then just really gaining ground once they get into the more complicated situations, especially the corridors. Because the corridors are not extremely dense, what we're seeing is the teams that prioritize shooting able to just carve out enough of a corridor that they can just sit there and pick off in-game points rather than have to move or anything. And so Mop lost out quite heavily on those situations. And that's what we see here, the score differentials on those, the corridors, and then the big scenarios towards the end. Yeah. Looks like, oh, we did have a, technically, okay, this might be an artifact. I don't think we actually had a tie. I'll have to check that later in the scoring data files. Oh, maybe we did. Oh yeah, the last one with the 2 rings closing, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because, wow, yeah, because Team Mop was only shooting, and it got caught inside the ring, and we had premature mine deployment by Windows 95, so I believe this is accurate. Wow, a tie on the last one. Interesting. Actually, let's go to this one. Yeah, that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing a tie on the hits in the last one. Wow. So, congratulations to Team Windows 95 taking the 3rd place trophy. So, now we have Windows 95 moved into our 3rd place on the podium. Oh man, we have a full podium of Albertans. The teams from Alberta have done exceptionally well in terms of their threat prioritization and firing logic in the past few years. And then also, of course, a couple years ago, Jifan's solution that was frankly exceptional at movement and mine deployment as well, including for adversarial tactics. Regardless, though, let's now move on to our final match. This is Team Hit or Miss versus Team TE. For 1st and 2nd place, let's see how they do. Not much surprise, both teams just going crazy, firing at all these asteroids. It'll be interesting to see who gets the advantage there in those very short, very fast scenarios at the beginning. You don't gain much score from them, but it's always interesting to see what happens. This one, we're hopping right into a much more dense field, seeing how the teams react, the agents react, rather. Hit or Miss doing really well at threat prioritization. I'd be interested to maybe hear from the Alberta teams how they did their prioritization differently. I do have their notes on their agent behaviors, but I'll have to take a deep dive into that. because we are seeing some differences there, and hit or miss is taking big advantages. They mentioned all the improvements that they made from version 2.0 because they were a competitor last year, and so was Windows 95. So yeah, some nice improvements, I would say, in terms of the targeting of asteroids for hit or miss. Pretty good mine placement there. Pretty good mine placement by hit or miss as well. Again, pretty evenly matched. We'll see. We'll see how they do. Not much separation early on that I've seen in terms of score. I may have to add a running total into Kessler for situations like this as well, instead of the per scenario total on the right. Wow. Team hit or miss gaining huge advantage early on. Lost a life, dropping a mine. Lost another life, dropping a mine, but that's okay. The mine was ineffectual, but I think that's just a timing thing. Oh wow, hit or miss. Both teams losing all their lives. Really good mine placement by TE there. TE from that mine able to establish an early lead. I don't know if they'll be able to hang on. Hit or miss is coming up on them, but we have 10 seconds left. Doesn't look like there just weren't enough asteroids for hit or miss to catch up in that situation. Hit or miss doing really well at prioritizing threats again. And I know I've said that multiple times, but it is impressive. You can tell how quickly it's changing from asteroids it has shot at or it's currently targeting, and it's pretty effective at doing that, especially when it has a much denser field of asteroids coming at it. Okay, both teams really doing well at carving out their path. TE helping out hit or miss quite a bit. Hit or miss is starting to shoot a lot more of the ones off of the corridor that they're in. Now they're both doing that. They're neck and neck. Wow. This is going to be another really tight race, like we saw previously. So this is going to be pretty interesting. If the Alberta teams can put in the chat, did you do any sort of adversarial learning in terms of pitting your agents against each other to learn behaviors at all? You can just put in the team's chat and I'll read it out. So doing well again in these vertical corridors. One of the Alberta teams, Team TE, says that they did in fact train it against some of the other Alberta teams' solutions. It'd be really interesting to take that a lot further and incorporate movement as well as offensive action, more explicit offensive actions. And Team TE says they informed some of the decisions for target prioritization. So, that's the name of the game, especially in these cases. That's why hit or miss is tending to get higher scores. It is just sucking up a lot of score, especially if you can take opportunities away from your opponent as well. That's a big advantage, especially when you have these razor thin margins between agents, like we're seeing. But like we're seeing here, hit or miss establishing a lead and able to hang on to it. One of the improvements that I mentioned for both the website and the competition generally is when I mentioned the leaderboard and the ability to upload your agent, and it'll be evaluated so that you can see its performance against other solutions. It won't be meant to be a training platform, so there won't be an explicit way to do adversarial learning, quote unquote, but you will get a nice feel for how your solution is comparing against other top solutions that we've seen. So we're moving into the really dense fields here. You know, this is tricky when both teams are deploying mines because they're going to get hit and just causing chaos. You know, neither team is focused on movement, so they're sort of at the mercy of the other as well. And themselves. Team TE just causing a lot of chaos over there. Well, hit or miss getting into the fun as well. Interesting. So some pretty early mine deployment by TE, but they were able to effectively shoot all of their... Oh, wow, I don't know who won that. TE might have won that because then they started shooting hit or misses. Wow, Team TE doing better on the ring closings. They're able to gain a lot of score by taking away the opponent's shots, like they just mentioned. You know, prioritization of asteroids. If you can take away your opponent's score, that helps you out quite a bit. Oh boy, we're getting oh my god. Wow, I think that might be the most chaotic field I've seen in Kessler, and it's a shame that the teams died from that, because that was about as close to just complete field saturation in terms of number of asteroids that I think I've ever seen. The mine placement and the shooting beforehand, such that there were so many asteroids in the field. That was crazy. A lot of fun. All right, I have no idea who won, especially in those last couple of scenarios. It looks like TE, like they were saying, they trained against some of the other Alberta solutions and how to prioritize asteroids, and looks like that worked, at least in those scenarios. So let's take a look. Wow. Wow, what a scoop. Team TE taking the win against Team Hit or Miss. It looked like some of those last scenarios really put them over the top, but we'll take a look. 38-30 to a score of 35-44 for Hit or Miss. Wow, upsetting the number 1 seed in the playoff. Wow, that's crazy. A few more shots for Team TE versus Team Hit or Miss. Very close accuracy. Yeah, very close. A lot more deaths for TE. TE, you know, that might be from mine placement. Maybe Team TE can weigh in the team's chat why they think they did better. Team TE just asked when the winner's interview is. That's great, and normally we do that. It's just a bit of an issue with the live stream setup. But yeah, Team TE, if you'd like to type in the chat some answers, you know, how do you feel about your solution? What do you think about some improvements in the future? You know, you were the best Albertan team this year and edged out Hit or Miss barely. So maybe put some thoughts in the chat, and I'll read them out here while I'm going over these results a little bit more. Yeah, I suspect that the deaths here, they might be from mine placement. So cumulative lead progression, I'll let Team TE put some of their responses in the chat while I'm going through this. Again, Hit or Miss. Team TE is in the blue, and then Hit or Miss the other. So early on, not much difference here. We see early leads for Hit or Miss, and then Team TE right there taking over and maintains a slight edge throughout the competition, through the runs, and then they're dead even again towards the let's see, this is the the last corridors. So these are the vertical corridor ones. So at that point, these teams are dead even again. And then we're getting into the big scenarios. So then we start with the random big fields and then the rings. And we see a slight edge for TE in those big random fields. A slightly bigger edge coming in once they start the rings. And then at the end, that closing ring, biggest differential right there. Yeah, someone in the chat said those closing rings seems like make or break. Clutched it out at the end. I agree. Those rings, if you know how to deal with them, I mean, you can gain so much score very quickly. Maybe that needs some balancing out in the future in terms of scenarios. Maybe we add more opportunities for longer scenarios for bigger wins, bigger differentials in other scenarios. But the ability to handle tricky situations like a fast closing, really dense ring, that's part of the goal. Is we're going to put you in bad situations like that and see how your agent handles it. Let's take a look at some of the per scenario. Yeah, like we're seeing Team TE at the end, they were able to lay some mines that just absolutely rinsed those rings and were able to suck up some score and take it away from hit or miss, it looked like. Even though hit or miss, they also had really good target prioritization. They were switching very carefully. They were not making giant arcing movements to rotate around and pick some other thing and then come back. So really good behaviors from both teams there. Shots, I anticipate very similar except for some of the early on ones. Accuracy, not much difference. We see the same thing in the early scenarios. And the only difference here being that last one where Team TE, we saw it actually taking away points from hit or miss, where it had already destroyed its ring and then was shooting hit or miss's ring to gain even more score. Deaths, again, both teams doing really well in the corridors like we saw. Wow, what a matchup. Any ties? No ties in this one. Wow, but still an incredibly close matchup. Congratulations to Team TE. Man, what a win. Let's take a look at what TE said. So, Team TE said his bot had one flaw. It can't shoot when invincible. So, that's sort of a benefit and potentially a flaw, I guess. Part of the issue is when you shoot when you're invincible, you immediately lose your invincibility in Kessler. And so, one of the benefits there is you can move yourself to a safe location and resume shooting at will. But if you're not going to be moving, then that's an issue. If you have to sit there and wait until you're invincible again. Yeah, and I agree. He said so. His mine placement did win the scenarios by far. Especially in the last case, I think you're correct. And there was another comment in the chat that said the ring freezing strat and waiting for the asteroids to split before that final hit, that is a good strat. It definitely is, because what that person is referring to is what we saw in the closing ring scenarios is we saw a lot of the Albertan teams, they would rotate and shoot, and so they would not only gain some early score before they were within mine range, but what they're doing is they're breaking up the big asteroids into a bunch of little asteroids. Little asteroids, there's a lot more of them. And so what happens is if you lay a mine that is then going to hit all of the asteroids that are in the blast radius, the more asteroids you shoot, the smaller they get, the more of them there are, the higher the immediate impact of a mine detonation gives you. So you can just jump enormously in score by doing that. Team TE said both of our bots had really great aiming. I agree. Another thing that helped him win was target prioritization that minimized the opponent's lead. I agree. So, we were talking about adversarial learning. What we mean there is training against another agent to try to use that as a baseline that you're going to improve on or learn how to essentially beat that opponent. And so that worked. Being able to prioritize just based on which asteroids are going to gain you score relative to your opponent. That's massive, and that's the name of the game, is asteroid score differential. So if you're directly training your system to do that, you're going to have a big advantage. Now, of course, it depends on who you're playing against, but that's another topic. There are scenarios where one team is guaranteed to win if both are playing optimally. Yep, that is true. And so Team TE focused on minimizing their lead in those scenarios. Another comment from the viewers, a small improvement would be if there are no impending asteroid collisions, then forfeit the rest of the invincibility and just start shooting again. Yeah, that goes back to what Team TE was saying about not being able to shoot while invincible. They have that ability to, but their agent just didn't do that. And so that commenter said that Windows 95 probably does that, but not sure if TE does. So yeah, there's lots of opportunity for improvement, but even still, fantastic shooting by all the Albertan teams, and especially TE. So really great job in performing that adversarial learning to try to gain out any advantage in terms of which asteroids to target. So again, congratulations to Team TE taking the win. Let's go ahead and officially move them into first place. And Team Hit or Miss, not far off, coming in second. So, man, a great sweep for the Alberta teams this year, getting first, second, and third. Reminder that these are not our only prizes. Like I mentioned earlier, we will have prizes for the best explanations, which I will be going through in the next couple weeks with the judges and getting those scores. There will be prizes for the best innovative solutions, which I will go through with the judges as well, and the details of the agents and what they're doing, and then also the peer award for best ship sprite. So that'll be, I will email out a basically just a ranking ballot for all the teams, and they will vote on which ones they like the best. And so we'll have those additional awards as well. I will have results to people. I'm on travel for the next couple weeks, and then another week after that with a small break. So I will be getting some of the results out pretty quick, including the ballots for team voting. But some of the other results may take a bit longer, like the judges' explanations. But I will be in contact with the winning teams as well for prize disbursement. And thanks everybody for attending the competition this year. Thanks to the teams that submitted agents. We had a lot of really good agents this year. A lot of promising behaviors, even from the teams that didn't place, like Mapsalabo from Japan. Really interesting behaviors there. Really good avoidance. So maybe adding in some more offensive capabilities, and they're going to be a threat. Same with OptiFuzzy from AO Biolab at University of Cincinnati. They employed a lot of advanced techniques, including some really interesting heat map stuff. They did a really good job at identifying regions that were quote-unquote safe, but they also, like the Japanese team, I think they just need to combine that with some more offensive capabilities, and those teams are going to be contenders. So again, thanks everybody. Yeah, thanks. Congrats to Team TE for first, Hit or Miss for second, and Windows 95 for third. And with that, we will wrap up the competition for XFC 2026. Oh, one last thing. Wiki, the World Congress for Computational Intelligence, the IEEE conference, it is next week, and we will be showing the version of that competition as well. The competitors for this are almost all in that one as well, so we'll see some similar things, but I will put the recording for that one up as well. In fact, I believe if it is all the same, then because the game is deterministic, we likely won't see a change. But also, we'll get IEEE competition results officially for that one as well. Anyway, thanks everybody for attending and submitting your agents. I hope it was a lot of fun. This year was a bit compressed. I appreciate everybody bearing with me, but I do plan a bunch of changes, including hackathon versions, more changes to the website, and ideally some big changes for agent submission and ongoing leaderboards and things like that. It should be a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody.